let's talk about Mike Pettine, guys. And, of course, there was the disaster, clock management, when Baltimore was about to kick that game-tying field goal. But the Browns, the team did not quit on Mike Pettine. The players have not quit on Mike Pettine. That seemed clear in this game. How much credit does Mike Pettine deserve for that win yesterday, Michael?
He rallied everybody up. I don't think there's any question about that. That's undeniable. And I was watching for this during this past week. I really was, because I started to see some slippage in the way his football team was responding to him. Now, in game, Mike Pettine. Got to get some things cleaned up, or at least looked at the other way. But as I can't steal my riled up here because it's going to be, but there was things that Mike Pettine showed yesterday that maybe, not during the game, but it's a culmination of the course of the week, that he got his football team to understand what's necessary to win a division football game on the road. And so, yeah, I'm going to put that check into Mike Pettine does, and his coaching staff, get some of the credit for making a football team understand.
Chris?
To me, he deserves a ton, guys, a ton. To me, yesterday's game against Baltimore was the biggest game for Mike Pettine as head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He needed a signature win. The last signature win that he had was probably the Thursday night game last year against Cincinnati. Maybe even before that, it was the way that they romped Pittsburgh. That was October. He was a guy going into that game against Baltimore. He was reeling. He was called out. His defense was being called into question. A lot of the things that Mike Pettine was doing, how he was handling players in his locker room, that was being called into question. He had lost 8 of his last 9 games. The only win he had all season long was against the Tennessee Titans, a team that had the 2nd overall pick in the 2015 draft. So he needed this game, and he found a way to get it done. And I'll also give him credit because he was a guy who bought into John DeFilippo, somebody who had last called plays at San Jose State. He had never called plays before in the NFL. I thought Flip did a terrific job calling that game against Baltimore, abandoning the run to get the pass game going first and then leaning on the run late. And Mike Pettine is responsible for some of the coaches on his staff, all of the coaches on his staff. And I thought DeFilippo had a terrific game, and that starts with Mike Pettine as the head coach. So he deserves a ton of credit for the win.
Bud?
Well, I give the edge to Fedor on this one. Not because I didn't agree with anything Michael said, but because Chris just said some of the same things I was thinking. Look, we talked last week here, we talked about whether the season was over. That was one of Dan's questions, I believe, right?
I think it was.
And my point then was that there were still some gains to be made by establishing this this organization and this franchise as competitive within its own division. I thought the wins against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh last year were huge because of that. I would put this one in the same category. And if we're going to beat Pettine up for some of the things he did, including clock management, we've got to give him an A for the fact that they walk out of there with a win.